good morning, everyone, and welcome to yet another conversation by OoWomaniya with a very phenomenal person. Thank you so much, Aruna, for joining us today on this conversation. Uh, Aruna Chawla is founder at Salad Condoms. Very interesting name. We'll delve into this name in our conversation ahead. Aruna is a new age. She's a biopsychologist. Her brand Salad Condoms is a new age intimate health and wellness brand based out of India. She draws from her experiences as a buyer and a psychologist to make intimate health and wellness shopping experiences accessible, judgment free, and safe. Aruna is committed to using Salad as a platform to talk about critical topics related to sexual health and education. The quicker she believes that the quicker we stop hushing around sex, the faster we'll be able to make informed decisions about our bodies and health, which we totally agree. They launched their online store in June 2021 and have received a tremendous response since then. They contribute to 15% of their profits to enabling sex education in schools and colleges in India. I think that's fabulous. Welcome, Aruna, to OoWomaniya.com. And on behalf of all our viewers and well wishers, um, uh, we really endorse your vision, and that's why it's our pleasure to have you today on this live. So, first things first, why your brand's name is the salad? What is the significance of that?
Thank you so much, Kritika, for that kind introduction and for this opportunity to talk about salad. Very interesting question. I think the whole deal with condoms is that they feel so inaccessible, especially for women. The marketing is catered towards men, whether it's the kind of imagery used, the kind of R&D that focuses on last longer, climax, mutual climax, etc. It's so pleasure focused, and
Mm.
साइकोलॉजिकली स्पीकिंग व्हेन यू डीम समथिंग प्लेजर फोकस्ड कि वो ऑप्शनल बन जाता है कि मजा नहीं आया तो छोड़ दो. It doesn't become something that's an indispensable, that's a critical part of your health and hygiene routine. That was one reason why we wanted to keep the name as something that inspires health, that talks less about pleasure and more about how this is a safe practice for you to use. This is nothing to do with pleasure at the moment, right? You can look at
Right,
R&D and building the product later in a way that also enhances pleasure, but that's not the primary goal. The primary goal is to prevent an unplanned pregnancy and to prevent STI transmission, and we want to be
right,
a health first brand. So that was one reason. The second was that we really wanted a word that was very easy to remember, to access, that already had existing connotations to health, but also something you use in your daily life. So if you're going to a restaurant, and now that you know there's a brand of condoms called Salad, every time you look at the menu, you will think of that condom brand as well,
right.
right? So we
There's a recall
automatically
value to it.
there's a recall value. And for brands like ours, like when you want to build that kind of trust, there's a much higher degree of trust and promise required to establish brands like ours as the go-to choice, and that happens only over a period of time, especially in the health and wellness industry. So it's critical that the name is something that people want to keep using, right? That is part of daily life, and that's how I feel the name salad really encompasses all of these different goals we had as we were working on the brand strategy.
Right. That totally makes sense. Something which is part of our regular life, which is not so controversial or pointing towards sex directly, but again, has a good recall value also. Uh,
Totally, totally.
Right. You said your goal as a brand is health first. Of course, sex is all about pleasure, and we have like tens of flavors in the market with different sort of gimmicks around the condoms. But people forget that STDs and STIs are uh, the major reason, apart from contraception, why you should be using condoms. Uh, when you started the brand, was there any research specifically to this that you had done, or like a consumer or a market research that helped you in that I want to be a brand, a condom brand, but but with a difference. So, what were your insights which made you come into this business?
So actually, research happened before the idea of the business came to me at all. And that's because, as part of my work as a buyer psychologist, I'm always looking at how industries in India are operating and what can make online shopping experiences better. From a business's perspective, if that shopping experience is fun, it's something that people want to be a part of, they're engaged, they will buy more. Right, it's easier to convert because your website's your salesperson, you want it to be the best damn salesperson that ever is. um,
Right.
Very interestingly, the intimate health and wellness industry, uh, the normal rules don't apply to it at all. Offline shopping experiences are super broken. Part of that research led to appalling statistics. Only 5.6% of the country uses condoms, 47% uses no form of contraception at all. And
Okay.
when the
Okay.
government also, in terms of policy making, with nirod campaigns, etc., speaks about family planning, their only idea focuses on contraception and not on prevention of STIs, which is critical for us to know. We don't even know what sexually transmitted diseases are, how to
Right.
identify them. Right,
Right.
and access to gynecologists or endocrinologists is not available or affordable in large parts of the country. It's not, for a lot of people it's also considered taboo to be talking about these things. And I wanted to dig deeper to find out why is this really so, because condoms are an essential medical commodity. The government has a price ceiling on them. So from the perspective of a contraceptive itself, it is the cheapest, uh, has a very high success rate. It's one time use and disposable, but that also means that you're not using anything invasive in your body, you're not altering the hormonal structure of your body, and it's the only contraceptive that also prevents it against STIs. Everything else just focuses on prevention of an unplanned pregnancy. It was quite appalling why, despite these prices, and the availability of pharmacies and hospitals last mile in the country, no matter what the most remote village you go to in the country,
Mm.
you'll find condoms there. So why is adoption so low, right? As a buyer psychologist, that's a question that really interested me. Why are people not buying something that is so damn effective and so like convenient in terms of price points also? And that, like, I did a lot of research and surveys after that to identify trends, and the deal is that there's very low social accessibility. So if you go to actually purchase a condom, no matter where in the country you are given judgmental looks by
Mm.
the pharmacist, people
Right.
around you. If somebody sees you with a packet of condoms, they'll think, they automatically, I mean, of course, you are a sexual being, but they will automatically think ill of you. Or even if you're ordering online, you don't want your parents to see. We don't live in a country where that kind of privacy is accorded. Um, that's very interesting, right? There's a movie that's releasing soon called Helmet On, and that talks exactly about this problem. It's so interesting
Right.
to look at this. And that is something that really interested me. That's the kind of research that led to the idea that for a brand of condoms to really make behavioral change, it has to be something radically different. If I was to
Right.
look at what existing brands are doing and copy paste it, it would not make sense, because from a business perspective, there's a huge business opportunity.
Right.
From a social welfare perspective, this is a phenomenal opportunity to lead to growth in our country. That is
Right.
what were the leading steps to identifying that this is a problem that I would love to solve.
Right. Right. Uh, do you have any data on how? I mean, we always talk about how difficult it is for females to negotiate usage of condoms with their partners, because there are already so many myths that uh, condom se अच्छा नहीं लगता, or it doesn't give that sort of feel, or I don't need it, or I know how to pull
Pull
out on
out.
time. So men are going to have multiple excuses around not using a condom, making it even more difficult for females in already a patriarchal society to negotiate safe sex. um, what do you have to say about Salad's commitment to making uh, these condoms more accessible to females, or how to how what? part you guys are doing to educate that how females can actually go out, buy, or maybe counsel or convince their partners to make it a practice to use a contraception, barrier contraception like a condom.
Yeah. So, couple of anecdotal references that we can draw analysis from. One, that only 18% of India's women are financially independent. That's an appalling statistic. That means only 18% of the country can make or take
Their own
decisions
decisions.
without having to depend on other people, right? For
Right.
others who are able to, some way or the other, they are going to be grateful to their partners or their families to even allow them to make such decisions, which is in
Right.
itself a controversial thing to talk about, right? The really good thing about our country, which is unlike any other country, is that we have penetration of the internet in the remotest parts of the country. Our
Right.
internet access is one of the cheapest in the world, which means all of a sudden women now have access to the virtual world. They can go online, they can go on YouTube, they can start looking at these things up. So the statistics are obviously a little more in favor of men than women, but they are so much better than actual real world physical accessibility to public spaces, information, education, etc. One reason why we decided to be an online first brand and we haven't started distribution yet is so that we
Okay.
could reach to these women. Interestingly, in terms of the kind of research we're doing on our existing customers and our growing audience base, about 52 to 54% of our customers and followers are women. The rest are obviously men, which is really interesting, right? Which means that we are able to provide them with a space to express their concerns, voice their opinions, ask questions, and have access to a product like this, which
Okay.
would not have been possible without the internet, for example, because we already see public space inaccessibility for women, right? If you
Right.
don't want to go late night, you want to go in specific places so that you're safe. I think those are very interesting concerns here. The other thing is that with, especially after the pandemic, right, remote
Mm.
work has become more normal. There is more access, so part-time work has started to become the norm. You have more gig work, you have a gig work economy that's happening, and it's all based
Right.
on the internet. So women themselves have a lot more access to the world and what it provides, so that they can at least start thinking about these decisions. Even if they're not the only one making this choice, they're at least able to have adequate resources to start a conversation.
Right. Right. Uh, Makes total sense because I think financial independence is the first step that actually people start taking you seriously. That's a very warped sense of belonging or sense of self worth that we have, that only financially independent people have the brain or understanding to decide what's right for them. And as you said, it's absolutely correct. And I mean, we also on O Woman, we get a lot of questions where even young girls and those who have been married for a couple of years, they do come out with their own stories and experiences, that how they have to face vaginal infections continuously, um, because either their partners are not willing to wear a condom, or they are not even willing to take the medicine which the doctor has given to both partners, or they have to face unplanned pregnancy because, again, lack of contraception. So, can you highlight the importance again? Because as health first is the goal, can you highlight the importance again of a condom beyond contraception? मतलब कॉन्डम को निरोध के नजरिए से हटके और क्यों यूज करना चाहिए? ये सवाल का जवाब हम जानते हैं, बट मैं चाहती हूँ कि इसको हम एक्सप्लिसिटली इस कॉन्वर्जेशन
स्टेट
में
करें।
हम स्टेट करें.
100%। तो मतलब पैंडेमिक के बाद से स्टेटिस्टिक्स से दैट मार्च 2021 से दिसंबर 2021 में 20 मिलियन पैंडेमिक बेबीज बॉर्न होंगे। मतलब पिछले साल सबने घर पे बैठ के बहुत एंजॉय किया है। 21% ऑफ दीज हैव बीन अनप्लान्ड प्रेगनेंसीज। सो इधर अगर आप कॉन्डम यूज भी कर रहे हैं या आप कोई और कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव यूज कर रहे हैं, तो मे बी दैट कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव डिड नॉट वर्क। अब चैलेंज ये है कि नॉट जस्ट इन आवर कंट्री, हर कंट्री में हाइजीनिक प्रैक्टिसेस उतनी अच्छी नहीं है। हम जब बड़े हो रहे होते हैं, हमें ये सिखाते हैं मुंह अच्छे से कैसे धोना है, ब्रश कैसे करना
Yes.
है, बट ये नहीं सिखाते कि अपने प्राइवेट पार्ट्स का ध्यान कैसे रखना है, साबुन लगाना है कि नहीं लगाना, डूशिंग करनी है कि नहीं, कि पानी कितना अंदर जाना चाहिए, एक्सेट्रा। और ये बहुत चैलेंजिंग है, क्योंकि अगर हम बात ही नहीं करेंगे तो हमें पता ही नहीं है साफ सफाई कैसे रखनी है।
True.
बाकी
True.
चीजें तो अलग, कि आप योर वन ऑफ योर पार्टनर्स इज चीटिंग, उनको किसी और से इन्फेक्शन हो जाता है, वो सब तो बहुत दूर की बात है। अभी तो ये है कि बेसिक हाइजीनिक प्रैक्टिसेस ही हमें नहीं पता, कि सेक्स करने के बाद सफाई कैसे करनी है, और किसने क्या करना है, कितने टाइम में क्या करना है, कौन सा साबुन सही है, इंटीमेट वॉशेस अच्छे हैं या नहीं, लाइटनिंग क्रीम्स अच्छी हैं या नहीं। और
Hmm.
उसके लिए कॉन्डम्स इज द ओनली मेथड जो किसी और का इन्फेक्शन आपके आने तक रोकता है।
Right.
तो अगर किसी और को इन्फेक्शन है भी, तो आपने सेक्स भी किया और आपको इन्फेक्शन नहीं हुआ, एटलीस्ट वो प्रिवेंट हुआ। तो अगर आप
Right.
प्रेग्नेंट नहीं भी हैं, मतलब लेट्स अज्यूम दैट आप दो सेम सेक्स कपल हैं, या इफ इट्स अ मैन एंड अ वुमन, द वुमन इज नॉट मेंस्ट्रुएटिंग एट ऑल, कि उनके पीरियड्स अब होते ही नहीं, तो प्रेगनेंसी भी नहीं होगी,
Hmm.
इन्फेक्शन तो तब भी हो सकता है।
Right.
कॉन्डम
Right.
सिर्फ मेंस्ट्रुएटिंग वुमेन के लिए थोड़ी है।
Right. So
और
एक
ये
ये जन
मतलब
नहीं, प्लीज प्लीज कंटिन्यू, प्लीज कंटिन्यू।
नो, आई वाज थिंकिंग कि जैसे अब सेक्स टॉयज भी हैं, और हम इन चीजों के बारे में ज्यादा बात नहीं करते, बट हमारी कंट्री
हम्म।
में लीगल है सेक्स टॉयज। और अमेजोन पे आप देखेंगे स्पोर्ट्स मसाजर्स के नाम से बिकते होते हैं, ताकि किसी की भावनाएं हर्ट ना हो। तो
हम्म।
बहुत इंटरेस्टिंगली, लेकिन अगर आप एक कॉन्डम यूज करते हैं सेक्स टॉय पे, तो आपका प्राइवेट पार्ट क्लीन और हाइजीनिक रहता है, आपका टॉय क्लीन
हम्म।
करना आसान है, क्योंकि वरना आपको क्या पता वो ड्रॉर में कहाँ पड़ा है, कितने टाइम तक पड़ा है, आप सही से सफाई कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे। तो
हम्म।
अगर आप अकेले में भी कर रहे हैं, अपना ध्यान रख रहे हैं, तो भी कॉन्डम्स बहुत यूजफुल है।
राइट। राइट। सो मतलब जनहित में जारी ये मैसेज है अरुणा और मेरी तरफ से टू एवरीवन हु इज गोइंग टू वॉच दिस वीडियो, कि कॉन्डम्स एक निरोध की तरह या कॉन्ट्रसेप्शन की तरह बहुत यूजफुल है, बहुत ज़रूरी है। बट इसके अलावा सेक्सुअली ट्रांसमिटेड इन्फेक्शंस या सेक्सुअली ट्रांसमिटेड डिजीजेस, जिसको हम एसटीआईज और एसटीडीज कहते हैं, उसको रोकने के लिए कॉन्डम के अलावा हमारे पास अभी कोई दूसरा डिफेंस ही नहीं है। जैसे
बिल्कुल।
कोविड के खिलाफ मास्क हमारा सबसे इजी, सबसे कन्वीनियंट, सबसे हैंडी डिफेंस है, उसी तरह जब आप सेक्सुअल रिलेशनशिप में हैं, या फिर अगर आप जैसे अरुणा ने कहा कि सेक्स टॉयज यूज करते हैं या एक्सप्लोर करना चाहते हैं इन चीज़ों को, इन प्रोडक्ट्स को विच आर लीगल इन द मार्केट, using condoms is going to protect you from any sort of infection, vaginal discharge, thrush, uh, syphilis, बहुत सारे हैं डिजीजेस, हम अब उसमें नहीं जाएंगे
पीरियड
क्योंकि अगेन
इन्फेक्शंस भी,
पीरियड
मतलब
इन्फेक्शन
कई
हो।
पीरियड इन्फेक्शंस बहुत लोग, मतलब अब एनेक्डोटल रेफरेंस है, कई लोगों को पीरियड्स पे सेक्स करना पसंद है, कई लोगों को नहीं पसंद, बट वो इन्फेक्शंस हो सकता है
राइट।
अगर
राइट, क्योंकि
प्रॉपर
अगेन इट्स अ
हाइजीन ना
बॉडीली
मेंटेन हो।
फ्लूइड।
करेक्ट।
राइट।
करेक्ट।
और सिर्फ आपके लिए ही नहीं, अगर आप अपने, यू ऑब्वियसली केयर फॉर योर पार्टनर, सो आपके और आपके पार्टनर दोनों की हेल्थ को कंसिडर करते हुए कॉन्डम्स आर द बेस्ट बैरियर्स टुवर्ड्स एसटीडीज एंड एसटीआईज। सो इस हेल्थ कम सोशल मैसेज के बाद मूविंग ऑन टू नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन अरुणा, कि आपका जो ब्रांड, आपकी वेबसाइट भी मैंने देखी, कुछ अलग अलग वर्ड्स मैंने रिकॉग्नाइज किया आपकी वेबसाइट पे जो कॉन्डम्स की मैसेजिंग के लिए बहुत नए हैं, जैसे इको कॉन्शियस, वर्ड्स लाइक वेगन, accessible, and I was also, it was very new for me, and I wanted to actually talk to you कि ये आपको कैसे ध्यान में आया कि और ये how did you decide that okay, if I'm going to work on this condom brand or I'm going to manufacture this and help people use it, uh, how this, how did this brand identity and this decision of going eco conscious or vegan came into your mind? Also, how does this help the end consumer कि ये vegan
ओके।
है तो ये इसका added advantage क्या है?
आई थिंक, मतलब एज स्मॉल बिजनेसेस, आज के टाइम में जो हम बिजनेसेस स्टार्ट करें, हम सब इतने एजुकेटेड तो हैं, मतलब आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट स्कूल कॉलेज एजुकेशन, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट जनरल स्ट्रीट स्मार्ट, कि हमारे एनवायरनमेंट में बहुत प्रॉब्लम्स चल रही हैं, वी आर
हम्म।
नॉट टेकिंग केयर ऑफ आवर एनवायरनमेंट एट ऑल।
Right.
और आई रियली बिलीव कि अगर हम एक नया बिजनेस स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, वी हैव टू बी रियली रियली कॉन्शियस ऑफ आर इम्पैक्ट ऑन द इन्वायरमेंट इटसेल्फ. इट हैज टू बी बिल्ट इनटू योर बिजनेस स्ट्रैटेजी. दिस इज नॉट ऑप्शनल. So that was very, very clear to me that I am going to take as many steps as possible to ensure that there's least amount of wastage, least amount of resource use, come say come damage to the environment. Somehow or the other, you want to offset it. So that was very clear. And I'll talk in a bit about how, how we're implementing those eco-conscious practices. मैंने बहुत रिसर्च करी पिछले साल. When I started working on salad, I spent almost 9 to 10 months just like speaking to manufacturers who would speak to me, testing out different samples, variants in the market, सब चीजें. एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग चीज ये है कि ब्रांड्स डू नॉट टॉक अबाउट इंग्रेडिएंट्स. हमें नहीं पता होता कि हमारी कॉन्डम किस चीज से बनती है. हमारा स्किन केयर
Right.
है तो हमें बहुत ध्यान रखना है कि विटामिन सी कहाँ से आ रहा है, हाइलुरोनिक एसिड कितना है कितना नहीं है, कहाँ से सोर्स हो रही है वो क्रीम्स. बट हम अपने कॉन्डम्स पे ध्यान नहीं दे रहे. इस चीज का हम ये नहीं देख रहे हमारी दवाइयों में जो जा रहा है वो क्या चीज है और कहाँ से आ रही है. तो ये चीज मुझे बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग लगी कि क्यों हम अपने कस्टमर्स को एजुकेट नहीं कर सकते इन चीजों के बारे में. आपको लेटेक्स एलर्जी होती है तो आप पता हो तो हो पहले कि लेटेक्स है क्या, क्यों हो रही है,
Right.
कैसे उसका आप सोल्यूशन निकालें. तो उस चीज से हमने स्टार्ट किया. वी आर दी ओनली कॉन्डम ब्रांड टू हैव एन इंग्रेडिएंट लिस्ट अवेलेबल ऑन आवर वेबसाइट. हमारे ऑर्डर बॉक्स पे क्यूआर कोड है, आप जैसे ही स्कैन करते हैं गो टू आवर वेबसाइट और उसमें आपको पूरी इंग्रेडिएंट लिस्ट मिलती है कि वो क्या इंग्रेडिएंट्स हैं, उनके ऑल्टरनेट यूजेस क्या है और चीजों में, उनका इम्पैक्ट क्या है या कॉन्डम में क्यों जा रहे हैं, मतलब व्हाट इज द पर्पस ऑफ यूजिंग an XYZ chemical or a component in the condom. So we started with that idea. Vegan का दिस वॉज अ रेवल्यूशन फॉर मी एज वेल. पहले के टाइम में जब कॉन्डम्स बनती थी तो रबर को पतली शीट्स में बीट करने के लिए एक कंपोनेंट यूज होता है जिसका नाम है केसीएन. वो एनिमल बाय प्रोडक्ट है. तो जब आप
Okay.
एनिमल को काट लेते हैं उनका फॉर फूड प्रोडक्शन, ये एक एलिमेंट उनके बॉडी में से निकालता है और उसको यूज करके बीट किया जाता था रबर को. Technology has advanced so much that we have the opportunity to not use these elements at all. So that is automatically a benefit, right? You're harming the environment very as less as possible. एंड कंज्यूमर को इस चीज का क्या फर्क है? वन, नॉट ओनली आर दे डूइंग अपनी बॉडी के लिए अच्छा या अपने पार्टनर के लिए अच्छा, दे आर ऑल्सो डूइंग गुड फॉर द वर्ल्ड एंड द अर्थ.
Right.
वेरी
Right.
वेरी क्लियरली दिस इज अ मेडिकल प्रोडक्ट, राइट? डिस्पोजल में मेडिकल प्रोडक्ट्स का एक अलग लेवल होता है, हजार्डस वेस्ट में आता है. इनकी
Right.
इनकार्सिनरेशन का या इन चीजों का अलग ही सिस्टम होता है.
Right.
Ensuring that as less impact on the environment is possible is part of the ethos. So अगर एंड कंज्यूमर, मतलब मुझे लगता है कि कई बिजनेसेस को ये स्टैंड लेना पड़ेगा कि अगर मतलब एंड कंज्यूमर्स को कोई नुकसान नहीं है, अगर कोई
Hmm.
बेनिफिट नहीं है, कोई नुकसान भी नहीं है, लेकिन एज अ बिजनेस हम क्या स्टैंड ले रहे हैं? अगर हम ना
Right.
भी यूज करते ये चीजें तो भी एंड कंज्यूमर पे कोई इफेक्ट नहीं पड़ता क्योंकि बोथ आर इक्वली सेफ. It
Right.
goes through
Right.
rigorous testing. Not just ours, but any brand that's in the market is going to be 100% electronically tested. Factories will be shut down अगर कोई brand ये जितने भी certifications और health approvals है वो नहीं
Hmm.
allow करते. तो
Of
अगर,
course.
right, तो as a brand we want to take that stand that we will do as much in our capacity and as the business allows us to be as eco conscious as possible.
Right. I think
And
it's a
then there are
very
other things, right? Yeah, sorry, go on.
I think it's a very noble idea, and how many small businesses actually think about it. Uh, I'm asking a bit technical question. Does this innovation in the manufacturing of your condoms, is it, how did you make it cost effective? Because as I see that your brand is not very expensive when you compare it to the market. It's a little expensive, but you can't call it in a premium range. It's still quite affordable and accessible. So I think 91 rupees may you're giving 10 pieces.
Pack
So
of 10.
now
Correct.
pack of 10. So what sort of innovation did you do in your manufacturing process to make sure that your end product, your condoms, are still saleable at right cost without being too expensive?
Correct. So, big revelation. द गवर्नमेंट सेट्स कॉन्डम्स के प्राइसेस. हर साल बजट में प्राइस सीलिंग अनाउंस होती है जो डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ फार्मास्यूटिकल्स रिलीज करते हैं, और कॉन्डम्स के प्राइसेस हर साल वही लोग सेलेक्ट चूज करते हैं. सो
Right.
in this year the price of the condom, the higher upper limit ceiling that was set is rupees 9.15 rupees per condom. If there
Okay.
are brands, and there, I know there are some brands that sell for higher, there's a case going on in the courts against this ceiling. As a small business, हम वो मसले में पड़ना ही नहीं चाहते थे, so we just simply followed the prices the government has set for us. Within that, we looked for existing innovations and combinations that we could do with available available styles of condoms, available quality, etc. That makes it a really good quality condom and also comes within that cost bucket. Kritika, you're paused for me. I don't know if you're here. I'm going to continue for the listeners. तो हमने ये चीज यूज करी. The reason why we were even able to think कि हम इतने कम मार्जिन्स पे फॉर एग्जांपल एक बिजनेस स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि अब इंटरनेट पे एक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ऐसा अवेलेबल है. With a platform like Shopify, which is what we use, we can start a business at rupees 2000 2500 a month, जो हमारा एक पूरा स्टोर फ्रंट बन गया. And that's our biggest investment in terms of the business, right? Apart from the product itself. अगर ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म्स ना होते, अगर ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म्स नहीं होते जो D2C ब्रांड्स को इनेबल कर पाते, तो हमारा ब्रांड एग्जिस्ट ना कर पाता. बिकॉज एज a 25 26 year old, I'm
Right.
26 now, and I started working on the brand I was 25. I would not have had the capital to invest in a resource intensive business like this. क्योंकि मतलब अगर आपको लोगों के सामने जाना है, assuming the internet did not exist or say 20 years earlier, आप heavily product produce करवाते, आप distribution उसकी enable करते, that has a lot of cost. You invest a lot of money upfront,
Right.
right? But with a platform like
Right.
Shopify and Instagram, etc., we were able to build a storefront which has all the details, which you can access the product from the comfort of your home. आप दुनिया में कहीं भी हो, आप अपनी वेबसाइट पे जाओ, हमारे इंस्टाग्राम पेज पे जाओ, you can order our product. It gets delivered to you. And with that, we, like, as a young woman entrepreneur, and we already know, what the systemic differences are with access to finances for women, I could
Right.
afford to start a business like this. Agar ye na hota, I would not have been able to start, honestly. Because
Right.
then, uh, with the kind of product it's not like आपने 2 या 3 pieces बनवा लिए और उनको sell करना शुरू किया, right? You have to invest in at least getting some kind of inventory to start. कोई मैन्युफैक्चरर भी नहीं अग्री करेगा कम अमाउंट्स को प्रोड्यूस करना. इट्स नॉट इन देयर इंटरेस्ट ईदर.
Right. Right. Right.
सो
And
आई
your
थिंक लाइक
product cost will also increase. Your manufacturing
our
cost
product
will
cost will.
increase. Right.
Absolutely. And what's also very interesting is I feel like this kind of access to the world that platforms like Shopify provide is wonderful for women, right? Because you could be selling a jam और a pickle जो आपकी नानी दादी ने आपको सिखाया और आपने प्रैक्टिस कर करके बहुत अच्छे से बना लिया, और यूर अ होम
Hmm.
मेकर जो जिनका दिन के मतलब 25 घंटे अपने बच्चों को अपने घर का ध्यान रखने में जाते हैं, और फिर भी वो कुछ टाइम निकाल के अपना कुछ सीख सकते हैं और दुनिया के साथ शेयर करना चाहती हैं. आप शॉपिफाई जैसे प्लेटफॉर्म पे अपना पूरा दुकान खोल सकते हो एट
Right.
वेरी लिटिल इन्वेस्टमेंट कॉस्ट,
Right.
एंड यू
Right.
कैन सेल टू द वर्ल्ड अपने घर पे बैठ के. आपको घर से बाहर भी निकलने की जरूरत नहीं है, आपको किसी से इन पर्सन मिलने की भी जरूरत नहीं है. And that is wonderful. I mean, imagine what as women we can do with these kind of resources. Where does financial independence statistics look like 10 years from now? If all of us were to think, I will think of one thing that I can sell online, just one thing, not to make money, but just to start some business of my own. It can be small scale, it can be one product, that is all.
Right. Right. Um, I agree, like how these portals or APIs like Shopify and other delivery partners, they've just made the integration so flawless that you can actually create a wonderful website and just feature your products, put some nice pictures, and you can get the ball rolling and start with your own
Yeah,
platform. So,
that's what I
and
did,
thank you
right?
for sharing that. Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
tip for all. the young entrepreneurs or yeah, or females who want to really do something, and they're like actually waiting for some opportunity, and nobody hands an opportunity. So I think
Yeah.
anybody watching this, just take that plunge if you have faith in your idea or on your product or service. And there are a lot of tools available. And again, if you have any questions related to this, you can leave it in the comment section. I'm sure Aruna will be kind enough to come and revisit them if you have any further questions on how you can actually set up a manufacturing business and start selling online. And that too at a very young age, at this young age of 26.
And it's like one more thing I do want to point out, it's
Uh,
not difficult in any way or form. मतलब कई लोगों को
right.
लगता है कि हमें टेक्निकल स्किल्स नहीं है, हम लैपटॉप पे अच्छे नहीं है. I have zero knowledge of these things, and yet like
Yes.
I could use tutorials that already exist, and I
Hmm.
set up the storefront myself in 4 or 5 hours over a weekend. Tutorial देख देख कर. और आई मीन
Right.
लाइक these platforms provide you free 14 day 30 day trials. तो अगर आपके पास,
Hmm.
अगर आपको 100% फेथ नहीं भी, आपको 50% फेथ है, आप टेस्ट आउट कर सकते हो.
Right.
मतलब आप
Right.
1 महीने तक टेस्ट कर लो अपना आइडिया, जस्ट इन केस इट डजंट वर्क, क्योंकि बिजनेसेस मतलब जितने सक्सेसफुल होते हैं उससे कहीं गुना ज्यादा फेल होते हैं.
True.
क्योंकि
True.
for whatever reason, right, this is just like a business rule, you'll succeed in one but fail in 10. You can test your things out with very little investment. What's the
Right.
worst that can happen? कि आपने 2 महीना टेस्ट आउट किया, maybe you spend 5,000 10,000 rupees, or you realize it's not successful, move on to something else.
Right.
मतलब in the like in the physical world this is not possible.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, actually, yes, testing and prototyping is much easier
Correct.
nowadays, and also with online businesses, because there are tools available. They're on subscription basis. The moment you realize that, okay, this tool is not working for me, or maybe this business itself might not work for me, you can always put a conscious stop to it. So
Correct.
yeah, I think this tip really should help a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs and young entrepreneurs. Now, coming to this part, what do you see? Like, what would be the future of sexual wellness industry? Like, I want to now come from like a. I want to say, if we look at this domain from bird's eye,
Hmm.
ऊपर से अगर हम उसको देखें, एक ओवरऑल ओवरव्यू अगर हम देखें, तो what are the new trends that are going to come, or also what will guide those new trends, because now we have so many social media creators. Like when we started our business in 2014, again, I was 23 years old back then when we started with this business. There were very few people who were talking about sexual health, sexual and reproductive health. There were very few entrepreneurs like you who wanted to make a difference in this domain from both health as well as pleasure point of view. And I believe talking about pleasure is equally important while we talk about health as well. So आपको क्या
100%.
लगता है कि अब जाके थोड़ा एक रेवोल्यूशन तो नहीं, लेकिन थोड़ा सा हमने 10% वो आइस ब्रेक कर लिया है, एटलीस्ट अर्बन इंडिया में, जहाँ पे लोग छुप छुप के ही सही, लेकिन वो देखते हैं ये वीडियोस टू अंडरस्टैंड, टू लर्न अबाउट देयर ओन हेल्थ, अबाउट देयर ओन सेक्सुअल हेल्थ. तो क्या नए ट्रेंड्स हम एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं सेक्सुअल वेलनेस डोमेन में फ्रॉम इंडस्ट्री, प्रोडक्ट एंड कंटेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू?
So content, I'll start with content. I content. The first thing is कि education बढ़ती जा रही है. You have access to resources. आपके पास डॉक्टर कंटेंट क्रिएटर्स हैं जो शेयर कर रहे हैं कि आपकी बॉडी कैसी होनी चाहिए या आपका क्या ध्यान रखना है. तो अगर आप एक गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट पे रेगुलरली नहीं भी जाते, यू कैन स्टिल लुक एट क्रिएटर्स लाइक डॉक्टर तनया, लीजा मंगलदास एक्सेट्रा, हु आर मेकिंग इट सो एक्सेसिबल, रिसर्च करके आपको प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं और एकदम फ्री में आपको ये नॉलेज मिल रही है. आई थिंक
राइट.
सोशल मीडिया का बहुत बड़ा बेनिफिट है विद दिस लाइफस्टाइल इन्फ्लुएंसर मार्केटिंग दैट्स हैपनिंग, पीपल शेयरिंग देयर लाइफ ऑनलाइन. सेल्फ केयर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती जा रही है. एंड हमारी आई थिंक हमारी कंट्री या कम्युनिटी, लाइक द इंडियन कम्युनिटी इन जनरल, द वे वी ग्रोन इज वेरी यूनिक. वी आर अ वेरी कम्युनिटी फोकस्ड population. Privacy is very low in our personal spaces. मतलब हम बहुत प्रिविलेज्ड लोग होंगे जिनके पास अकेले का रूम है। अदरवाइज यूर
Right.
ऑलवेज शेयरिंग अ रूम विद समबडी और द अदर। कभी आप अपने पेरेंट्स के साथ कर रहे हो, आप अपने भाई बहनों के साथ कर रहे हो, फिर आप अपने पार्टनर के साथ, अपने बच्चों के साथ कर रहे हो। तो आपके पास अपना दैट होल योर रूम टू योर सेल्फ तो बहुत रेयर प्रिविलेज सर्कल्स में ही आपको मिल पाता है। But with the internet, for example, with your phone, you can explore anything and everything in your privacy. आप कहीं पे भी बैठे हो,
Right.
in the morning you're in the loo, you can keep scrolling your phone, and depending on what you
Right.
choose to consume, you can actually consume good content. Delivery
Right.
last mile available here with partners. You can allow for discreet shopping. So even if you want to test out certain products, और आपको in person जाके नहीं वो embarrassment face करनी जो sales person आपको देगा, you can order from a website, you can order from Amazon, and get it at in your personal spaces, right? I think that's very interesting, and that's a move towards the right thing. I also think like tier 2, tier 3 rural India has a lot of potential, because right
Mm.
now we're only looking at like a western focused idea of sexual education. Explore your
Right.
body, this and that. Private rooms to है नहीं, explore कैसे करें अभी तो we there are so many people who don't even know what sexual urges are, or what sex itself is, how children are born. Like, we
Right.
still have that flowers mating idea of Bollywood, where we don't want to talk about these things. They
Right.
exist, children will find out somehow or the other. We don't want to have these conversations at all.
Mm.
I think there's a lot of scope for that. Contributing 15% of our profits to sex ed in schools and colleges has been intentional. Not only is this something I deeply care about, I wish somebody had told me these things when I was younger, when I was in school. So I could have started understanding my body better at a at a younger age. It wouldn't have taken me as long. And I'm still learning.
Mm.
Like, all of us are still learning. But I think the sooner we start, the sooner, we desexify private parts. Kya bolna hai? What are the names for a private part, right? By like 5 or 6 years of age, we already start saying, oh, poppy shame, isko nahi touch karna, bahar nahi nikalna. We build so much shame around our private parts that children don't know how to react, and that keeps building on as they grow
Right.
older as well, right? I think it's critical to be like to have age appropriate physical and sexual education. Not only because they will be our future customers, but also because if you don't know these things, how are you going to know if something is right or wrong? How would
True.
you know if you need to visit a doctor or not? How would you know if
Right.
there needs to be some change in your lifestyle or not, or if you're doing the right thing or not? There's a
Right.
world left unexplored because we don't have the right terminology for it. There's so much shame attached to such conversations. I think those trends are really changing. I think sex ed itself has a lot of potential, providing access to the accessible and affordable gynecologists, endocrinologists, who don't build shame into those conversations is critical. Abhi bhi, matlab, women have PCOS at a young age, at 12, 13 they get identified with PCOS. The first thing doctors say is कि बच्चे नहीं होंगे, पतले हो जाओ, या बच्चे हो जाएंगे तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा. There's this
Mm.
inherent idea that if you have PCOS, motherhood will be a problem without even identifying if that person is a child or not, if they want to be a mother or not. There's this idea that सबको मम्मा बनना है.
Mm.
And that really needs to change, right? How else are you going to trust your gynecologist with your deepest personal questions? How
Right.
else will you show them that you don't know enough and you want to be educated on the right thing? So I think those kind of ethics change is critical to incorporate. But I think this kind of access is important. Sexual wellness products themselves, are on the rise. I know of so many companies that are working on lube, pubic hair oil, massage toys, sex toys, etc. And it's becoming more and more possible, because in the situation we are in right now, like as an industry, this may not be profitable at a large scale for a big corporate business, but for smaller businesses who are starting out, it is a really good space for them to be in. More women
Right.
are taking up. You will find a lot more women entrepreneurs in the sexual health and wellness space than men, because women are realizing we need a seat at the table. And
Right.
it's showing in different kinds of marketing it's showing in radically different marketing activities. It is showing in the kind of products that we are working on. It's showing in the packaging, the way we are sending out the message, the ethics that we are following with the brand. I think that's really good.
Right. Right. I can't agree more to like almost each word you've said in the answer, that how sex education is important, not just for, telling people about their bodies, but also a lot of myths and taboos which are attached to sex and reproduction. And especially the thing that you talked about, PCOS, that the first response is that how this will affect her fertility or chances at pregnancy rather than her own health, because PCOS just wrecks a female's physical and mental health, starting from her
Absolutely.
regularity of periods to weight gain to acne on skin, hair growth,
Productivity,
insulin
efficiency.
resistance.
Absolutely.
एग्जैक्टली एंड बट द फर्स्ट थिंग इज कि नहीं, अब आप प्रेग्नेंट इजीली नहीं हो पाओगे, अच्छा आप ये दवाई चालू कर दो ताकि यू गेट योर फर्टिलिटी बैक ऑन द गेम. सो I think what important point I got from your answer is that how the gynecs, apart from the society that we talk about, assuming that society को तो कम knowledge पहले से है जिसे हमें educate आगे करना है, बट जो हमारे सिस्टम में जो हमारे डॉक्टर्स भी हैं, how they can be more conscious and taboo free about these things to put patients wellness first, and the reproductive ability is वो तो हो ही जाएगा. If you are going to be healthy and you want to get pregnant, of course you can achieve that, but that cannot be the end goal. Individual well-being of the patient is equally important. And like sex ed mein we see a lot of parents also, they get wary of sex education, thinking that okay, sex education कर दिया तो मतलब हमारे बच्चे बहुत जल्दी एज में सेक्सुअली एक्टिव हो जाएंगे, तो वो डर उनको हमेशा रहता है. सो आई थिंक आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर इट ऑन दिस वीडियो दैट सेक्स एजुकेशन is not going to push your child towards sex. It's actually going to make them more mindful whether they want to get into a sexual activity or not. They'll
And
understand
how
if
to be
somebody
safe. How to be
exactly
like,
how
you want
to.
to ensure, मतलब जब especially अब जैसे I think like I want to be very kind to my parents because उनको भी तो ये education किसी से नहीं मिली थी when they were
Exactly.
growing up, so they don't even know कि ये बात हम आगे कैसे करें, right? So I think मतलब हमें वो kindness के साथ चलना चाहिए. But आज की generation के पास internet के होने से सब कुछ available है और कहीं
Right.
cases में गलत information भी available है. तो जब उनके पास मिलनी ही है information, so why not you ensure कि आप उनको सही तरीके से the right kind of information you can provide to them, ताकि they have the right resources and they trust you, they trust to come to you if they have questions. If they make a
Right.
mistake, they should be able to come to you and trust you कि आप ध्यान रख लोगे, आप संभाल लोगे. तो I think वो भी बहुत जरूरी है.
राइट. एंड इंटरनेट एक्सेस भी एक डबल एज स्वॉर्ड की तरह है, मतलब वो जहाँ इंफॉर्मेशन है उतनी मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन भी है. तो हम ये
Absolutely.
इंफॉर्मेशन को कैसे राइट चैनल्स से हम डेसिमेट करें, हम इसको राइट फॉर्मेट में एज कॉन्शियस या इवन कल्चरली कॉन्शियस वे में किस तरह से
बिल्कुल.
वो इंफॉर्मेशन प्रेजेंट करें, ये भी बहुत ज़रूरी हो जाता है. I think we do have one question from a viewer that आपने Shopify के बारे में इतना कुछ बताया. How much time did it take for you to floor the prototype of your
The
product
website.
as well? I think they are meaning the product, the
Okay,
actual
the
content.
sure. The product, we didn't start prototyping the product in terms of the marketing itself. जब हमने sample final किया, we got more of the same sample, had unbranded boxes and shared it across, and we got reviews on that unbranded box itself. तब हमने कुछ नहीं डिस्कस किया था कि हमें आगे जाना भी है या नहीं, बिकॉज वी वर स्टिल एक्सप्लोरिंग इफ इट्स अ गुड बिजनेस अपॉर्चुनिटी और नॉट. तो ब्रांडिंग, बॉक्सिंग वगैरह तो बहुत बाद में हमने करी. फर्स्ट वी जस्ट फोकस्ड ऑन द सैम्पल्स. ऑफ कोर्स विद ऐसे प्रोडक्ट में सैम्पल्स भी 100% इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली टेस्टेड आते हैं.
Okay.
सैम्पल्स भी सारे हेल्थ सर्टिफिकेशंस के साथ आते हैं. सो द टेस्टिंग वाज प्लेजर फोकस्ड कि डज दिस कॉन्डम फील गुड टू यू गाइज और नॉट. हमारी कॉन्डम सिर्फ अल्ट्रा थिन्स हैं. व्हेन यू यूज देम यू विल फाइंड कि कोई आर्टिफिशियल फ्रेग्रेंस फ्लेवर नहीं है. इट हैज अ नेचुरल रबर स्मेल, जो बहुत लोगों को थोड़ी सी स्ट्रेंज लगेगी क्योंकि उन्होंने कभी नेचुरल रबर स्मेल ही नहीं करा है. बट दिस इज द लीस्ट ट्रीटेड एंड हेल्दीएस्ट फॉर योर बॉडी. or it's ultra thin, it's a 0.0553 microns. So हमारा tagline भी है कि it's so thin you'll barely feel it, and we've constantly got this response from our customers, repeat audiences, कि हेल्दी तो है, वी नो वी आर डूइंग द राइट थिंग, बट पता ही नहीं चलता. सो दैट होल टैबू के
Hmm.
प्लेजरेबल नहीं है, या जो कॉमन एनेक्डोट है कि मजा नहीं आ रहा, फील नहीं हो रहा,
Right.
स्किन टच नहीं हो रहा, वो प्रॉब्लम भी हमने इस क्वालिटी से एलिमिनेट कर दी थी. So once we got the buy-in from initial users, friends, families, etc., जिन्होंने टेस्ट किया और रिपोर्ट किया कि उनको क्या अच्छा लगा, क्या अच्छा नहीं लगा, then we went on to production. And if it's about the Shopify website, it took 4-5 hours to set it up. Tutorials are hain, they just have like a step by step procedure. And the good thing is you can keep changing it. मतलब अगर आगे मुझे नए products add करने, I can do it immediately. मुझे कुछ हटाना है, change करना है, that's also really quick. So both were like, for both I was very mindful कि मुझे step by step ही जाना है, because I have to make sure every step is correct. Only then do I go to the next step, invest more money, more time in this.
Right. 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 So we have another curious viewer who wants to ask about if there are any plans of having a female condom added to the salad's product basket.
Very interesting. I actually did think about it because female condoms are on the rise. P-Safe launched one a couple of months ago, and
Domina,
I
yes.
Domina, correct. And I saw one a couple of years ago when I was in Amsterdam. So, like Netherlands and Europe generally has a lot more sexually free culture. That's the first
Mm.
time I found out there's something called a female condom also. The challenge with that was, like, a couple of challenges. One, very few manufacturers in the country exist. As a small business, हम अभी अपनी factory set up नहीं करना चाहते, because that's a
Okay.
lot more investment, right?
Right.
Upfront, without that
Right.
kind of return, which gets scattered over the next couple of years. Then second thing is that adoption rates are so low that as a business, if we were to focus on double switch of behavior, that would have been a huge challenge. We are focusing on that 47% population जो कुछ भी नहीं use करना चाहती. That's our biggest market. For female condoms, it's already a market that uses condoms, right? As a business strategy, female condoms वो लोग generally use करेंगे जो already condoms use करते हैं, और फिर they want to switch to it. क्योंकि ये तो है नहीं आप female and male condom इकट्ठे use कर सकते हो, friction की वजह से
Right.
टूट जाएगी. You don't want to use two condoms at the same time. So from a business perspective, हम इस रीजन से फीमेल कॉन्डम्स में नहीं एंटर करना चाहते अभी. फॉर द नेक्स्ट few years, we want to focus on this one product that we have more variants in this. We do plan on launching more and more variants, and then accompanying products. And then, like, so that the next steps would be to get into distribution, be available at a lot more supermarkets in the same city, enable same day delivery. कि आपको चाहिए तो आप जोमेटो या स्विगी की तरह ऑर्डर कर सकते हैं, एंड यू गेट इट, सो यू डोंट हैव टू गो टू अ फार्मेसी लेट नाइट टू गेट इट,
Right.
राइट.
Right.
That is the plan right now, and this was the
Right.
reason why we don't want to enter female condoms key industry
Right.
as of now.
So the goal is to scale up and create more accessibility for the existing
Correct,
product and get into new products or get into female condoms. And
correct,
I think
correct.
even female condoms के regarding अभी और काफी सारा education और how to use it करना, or it will
बहुत
might
जरूरी है.
take couple of months and years to
Correct,
get
correct.
there. Uh, I this is my question, honestly. Did you, during your research, did you find any uh, group of people or a group of men who initially were not very comfortable in using condoms or had their own reservations, and then you saw them convert and understand that okay, that myth के इसमें तो मजा ही नहीं आता kind of myth going away after using the product. So have you ever had that experience or people with that change of behavior, consumer behavior as well as mental block of using contraception?
I think mental block has I've experienced that mental blocks switch a lot more, less from the never used to use, but more from the majburi mein use kar rahe hain aur ab acha lag raha hai. That has been a lot more, because early adopters, right? We're a new business.
Hmm.
So our first customers are people who already use condoms and want to try out something. You get trust based product. If it's not of a good quality, you can and get a unplanned pregnancy, right? So you don't want to
Hmm.
risk it at all. So early adopters, obviously trailblazers, हम जितने मर्जी certifications डाल दें, जब तक वो use नहीं करेगा वो कैसे trust करेगा? So it's
Right.
been a lot more response, and audience for now have been people who use a condom, or use different forms of combinations of contraceptives, and then got back to us and said, you know what, this feels great, I think I'm going to switch for good. That has been a
Yeah.
lot more.
Right. Right. All right. I think. Do you have any words of wisdom or a final message that you want to give to our viewers about the work that you're doing, and most importantly, the sexual and reproductive health, the baton of sexual and reproductive health that you have taken up with this brand? So, what would be your final few words, or I would say the message, take home message for our viewers? And also for our future entrepreneurs who are again young people who are going to watch you in this video.
No words of wisdom. I'm too young for that wisdom. मैं खुद हर रोज सीख रही हूँ. I think the only thing that can keep you going is courage to do the right thing every day, even if you face a lot of roadblocks and setbacks. With Salad, it's not just a business opportunity for me. There's a bigger mission. There's a bigger purpose that's attached to it, which is why even when I face those roadblocks, I'm able to steer through them or look at solutions or find alternatives. It's very important to attach your life to a bigger purpose than just money, because money will come. Today's world, it's so much more easier to make money than it was any other time. You can get to a Fiverr, Upwork, you can freelance, you can give tuitions, anything and everything. You can start earning at any age. You could be 80 and start earning, you could be 90 and do that, you can be 9 and do
Right,
something or the other.
right,
But attach yourself to a purpose, because that's critical.
right. So, hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you? Yes, yes. Okay, yeah. All right. So, I think it makes absolute sense that it's a mission. It's not just some random, idea that you got one night and you want to now start working on it. And I think that makes complete sense. Um, I think I am getting a question. That's why I was just
No problem.
okay. I think I have one final question. Um, You said 15% of your proceeds might go to sexual and reproductive health education, sex education for colleges and schools and for young students. Do you have any plan on how would like to go about it, or have you identified those areas where probably you would like to, go first and start with this sex education thing as part of the Salad's mission?
Sure. So we have a sex educator on board already. They are working out specific course plans and workshops for different needs. We spoke about this a little while ago, but like one of the things that we're working on is uh, a workshop for parents on having these conversations with their young kids, teenagers, elder kids. Because all three are different categories, right? So we're identifying these areas, working on workshop content, which will then further be developed, and then we'll start partnering up with it. So we've already started on the process, but we want to make sure, we don't want to make mistakes in the research we do or the information we give out. There is so much available, and we're learning every day. It's not like any of us is the world expert, and we don't want to make that mistake. So we're speaking to like the sex educator on board is working on these workshops, but we're also speaking to a lot of other experts, uh, psychologists, educators, childcare specialists, etc., on what the right way to incorporate these learnings be. for different groups. So if it's children, how do you introduce it to them? If it's teachers, or if it's daycare staff, how do you work with them and help them understand these details best so that your child can learn better? Or for how, what would that mean like for college students? So we're working out on all these different groups, and let's see how it goes. Like, I'm very excited about making this happen.
Right. And wish you all the best, that you get to achieve this, and you scale up. And Overvania is every time here with you if you want to really scale this up to different parts of India. And cheers to you again for actually coming up with such product. And we do need more new players in this market. It's only big pharma, which is, or big companies are in this space. So it's very refreshing to watch a young entrepreneur as yourself to actually come with a unique, innovative idea for a very commonly used product. Not a commonly used, but very, it's not a new product,
Everywhere.
but
It's
nobody, it's
everywhere. Yeah.
everywhere, it's everywhere. And most of people are aware of this product, whether they use it or not. And having thought of doing it in a different manner itself speaks volumes about your vision as an entrepreneur, or as um, somebody who works in sexual and reproductive health. So, all the best to you, Aruna, to you and the Salads team. And I'm sure you guys are going to do really great in selling condoms, but also in imparting sex education and working on sexual well-being. And thank you to all our viewers who did take out some time and are watching this video. If you have any further questions for us, for me, or for Aruna, especially for Aruna, please leave it in the comment section and we'll try to get back to you. Thank you so much, Aruna, for spending this
Thank
Sunday
you.
morning with us, and
Thank you for
all
this
the best again.
opportunity. Thank you. Thank you
It's
so
our pleasure.
much.
Thank you. Bye bye.